Throwing open all the curtains wide. Not gonna miss a thing. Nothing's promised to you in this life, but it's there for us to take. So live well, be bold, be brave. We lay in the daylight under the old oak tree. It's simple, beautiful, it's all we need. Chasing the wonder endlessly, further into the unknown. There's no doubt, so no regret. Happy before we get another day to do it all again. Oh, we're throwing open all the curtains wide. Not gonna miss a thing. Nothing's promised to you in this life, but it's there for us to take. So live well, be bold, be brave. Let in the sun. You don't know what you got till it's gone. Oh, let in the sun. All of the best yet to come. Oh, let in the sun. Don't know what you got till it's gone. Oh, let in the sun. All of the best yet to come. We're throwing open all the curtains wide. Not gonna miss a thing. Nothing's promised to you in this life, but it's there for us to take. So live well, be bold, be brave.
I'm Nancy. It is 3:04 on December the 1st. 2 days from now, Wednesday, my husband and I will be married 15 years. I don't know what that's all about. Do you see this behind me? This? Let me get up because it hurts to move my arm back that way. This is my tarot station. These are my tarot cards currently. This is a tarot book. These are my empath cards, and these are another deck of tarot cards. All these shells, I have shells across the front of here. You can't see from that far away. My husband picked them up for me when he went to Cocoa Beach, Florida. And I have a ruin rock. It's for heat therapy. It's a heat therapy rock, okay? And then my ball, right here, you probably can't see it from there. And then over here, I have a purple geode crystal. I'll show you. My purple geode crystal. This is another tarot book that I'm copying. I'm currently copying this tarot book into this book. And since you can see the book has all these little tarot cards here, where am I at? Look here. Where are you at? Light, bright. There. See the tarot cards? Okay. What day am I on? 31? Okay. I have this deck, little cards. They're playing cards, like ones, twos, like this. And I just traced around the card, and then what's written in the book. Can you see? It's hard to get the light right there. What's written in the book is what I'm writing on the book. And then my tarot card, and then this is my astrolight. Amanda Panda has one of these too. We can get it to turn on. Is it dead? Did I let the battery? There it goes. It's my astrolight. It changes colors. It really does change colors. There it goes. It's turning green now. There it's pink. See, it changes colors. And then this is my tarot palm symbol thing tray, and that's where I put my sage. Butch was playing some awful music the other day, showing me, because he's got Apple Music on our TV, because we switched our TV in the living room, and so anyway, he was playing this awful music on Apple TV. So when the song went over, I lit my sage and went in there, and I was like, he said, "What are you doing, getting rid of the evil?" I was like, yeah. And then this is another book where I'm copying this tarot book into this book. And then this is the tarot symbols, and this is the tarot symbols. I think they're the same, but this one's bigger than this one, so, and it tells, what the different tarot cards are. This is these are the original tarot deck, the original from the original tarot decks. And whoever did it did not spell learning right. And then these are terror. See, they're scary tarot for like Halloween or whatever. Tarot. These are Midnight Magic Tarot. These are Earth Woman Tarot. These are True Heart Oracle cards. This is another deck of the original tarot cards from back when, they're copies from back when all the tarot cards were hand drawn on the cards. But these are just copies. They're mass produced. And these are my soul contract tarot cards. These are my holographic tarot cards. The Magic Seer holographic tarot cards. These are my first deck of tarot cards. The 87 with the major orca and the minor arcana. Major arcana and minor arcana. Okay, so anyway, and they come in their protective little bag here. Let me set up here. And then these empath cards come with their activation book, and they're larger cards. They're this big card. I don't know if you can see that big. They're this big card. And currently, I'm just trying to learn what they are. I might eventually, because the empath ones is only a 44 card deck, and the original are an 87 card deck. So, I'm just trying to learn. I might, when I figure out, which I was going to do when I was down in Arkansas over Thanksgiving break, I was going to get my daughters or one of my granddaughters to teach me to do YouTube shorts. I forgot. We were having such a good time. We had a great weekend, a great Thanksgiving, and my daughter Amanda is an amazing cook. She is such a good cook. I'm telling you. She makes this ambrosia salad with its pineapple and cherries and marshmallows, Cool Whip, and I don't know what else is in it, but it's delicious. It's so delicious. And her husband smoked turkey. She made dressing, mashed potatoes and gravy. She made mashed potatoes and gravy with the sour cream and the butter and all the fixings that goes in mashed potatoes. And then she made mashed potatoes that was just butter because one of her daughters doesn't like the cream cheese and sour cream and all that stuff, whatever all she puts in it. But it was good. I don't know what all she put in it, but it was good. I didn't watch her, but it was good. And she made macaroni and cheese with noodles and Velveeta and sour cream, and she baked it, and it was amazing too. And she made gravy to go over everything, and made brown gravy and turkey gravy. And she made a pecan pie and an apple pie, and I made a cherry pie and a pumpkin pie and a pumpkin cheesecake. And oh boy, we ate till we were stuffed. And she made rolls, dinner rolls. And then she made this cheese and chip dip with Velveeta and hamburger and sausage, and I don't know what all she put in it, what seasonings she put in it, but that you couldn't even tell it was a Velveeta. It was so good. It was amazing. She's just such a good cook. And then after we left Amanda's, after Thanksgiving, my husband and I were there, and then when we started taking family pictures, then Amanda's biological father and his wife arrived, and we took pictures. And I don't remember if we took a picture of Amanda and the girls with me and Butch and her biological father and stepmother. I don't remember if we took a picture like that. If not, there's always Christmas if we go down there. I think I want them to come up here because if they can, because my my sister won't be able to come up here. And when I go down there, I love my sister, don't get me wrong. But if I go down there to visit one, since they only live 30 miles apart, if I go visit one, I want to go visit the other. And sometimes I feel like my sister made a small Thanksgiving dinner, and by the small, I mean small. And I tried to have a turkey and dinner roll sandwich, but my husband liked it so well he took it from me. So anyway, but we had a great Thanksgiving. So we spent Thanksgiving night at my sister's. We spent the night before Thanksgiving at Amanda's with Amanda and her husband and my three of Amanda's youngest daughters. And yeah, we had a great time. And then after we spent the night with my sister, Thanksgiving night at my sister's house, then we came home Friday and got home just in time to find out that the batteries in our thermostat went out. So it was cold in our house. It was cold. So, and then I was kind of rushing and panicking, trying to figure out, why is the heater not working? What is wrong with the heater? Then I realized that it was the batteries in the thermostat, and I changed them, and it warmed up really nice. And then Saturday, Butch and CJ took the back door off my kitchen, the one that goes from my kitchen to the garage, and put a cat door in for me. So now Edward, my black cat, who is actually laying right here in this black chair. Turn this way. Can you see this chair? There's a cat laying on where it's curved in. The cat is laying right there. So anyway, he likes to go out the front door, but we leave the garage door open this much, and then he can just come in through the kitchen door, and I don't have to leave the kitchen door standing open with the heat on, because now he has the cat door. He'll go in. He doesn't like to go out it. I don't know what his thinking about going out that door is, but he likes to come in it. So that's the treasure. Now when I go off and leave, I don't have to, like when we went down to Arkansas for Thanksgiving, I had to leave a little wedge in the back door so that the back door wouldn't shut, because that way Edward could go in and out through the back door, and because he doesn't use a cat box in the house. I currently do not have a cat box in my house at all. And so Edward goes outside and does his business. But yeah, we had a great weekend. And then yesterday morning, Butch had to leave out about 4 o'clock. So we were up early. I had to get up at 3 and make the coffee and fill the thermos and get all of his refrigerator food for his truck ready to go, because we'd already moved everything over to his truck the night before. I got his refrigerator food and got the coffee made, mixed up his cup of coffee, made his thermos of coffee, did all this 1 cup at a time in the Keurig, because my Keurig will make 10 cups, but that's not enough to fill his thermos. So anyway, I had to do the Keurig because I got him hazelnut coffee, and so he's got the good coffee. He don't now. He's in Colorado or Utah. He had a delivery in Colorado this morning, and then a delivery in Utah this afternoon. So, and then I don't know where he goes from there. But it's snowing here. It started snowing while I was in therapy at 7:30 this morning. It's still lightly snowing. When CJ gets home, we're going to move the table, Butch's saw table in my garage. And when we move the saw table, then we'll be able to pull the truck right up into the garage, because Butch cleaned the garage out, thank goodness. And we're going to I'll be able to park in the garage. Problem is, I'm at my upper garage, which is the one attached to the house, and that's got the 40-degree driveway, so I have to salt the driveway, or I'm not getting out tomorrow, or I have to move the truck down to the lower garage, which I can't get in because all my eBay stuff is in there. So that's the way it's working. But and my eBay, since we started, we're closing out my website and going all to eBay. It's still at getlocker underscore 606710. Getlocker underscore 607, whatever my zip code is. And uh, I had 3 sales over the weekend, and then I shipped them out. And this morning, right after the mail went out, I got another sale. So I like that. I like it. We've only been doing my eBay. Look, I just had another sale. We're talking about eBay, and I got a sale. Let's see what sold. A Labi. Can you see? A Labi safari print face. And that sold for $10. And they pay shipping. So I'll get that boxed up. And tomorrow, both items that sold today will go out in the morning. So there we go. All right. So now what we're going to talk about today, since I've already spent 20 minutes of our time waiting for people to come in. Before we get started, we're going to talk about Brian Walshe, because his trial opening arguments and stuff started today. He's the one that is up on trial for the Redrum case of his wife Anna Walshe, because she went missing. Thus the thumbnail, because she had gone missing. I don't know enough about the case to know if she's been found or she hasn't been found. It says Brian Walshe, accused of redrumming his wife Anna in 2023 and dismembering her body, was ruled competent to stand trial on November 28, 2025. Jury selection begins December 2nd in Massachusetts, with prosecutors expected to present damning Google searches like 10 ways to dispose of an unalived body and red liquid evidence from their home. Renewed attention comes from comes amid appeals and family statements. This is a high society scandal involving art fraud ties, is set for explosive testimony. Think domestic deception on a lavish scale. It's a classic missing spouse whodunit with fresh twists. So let's see what's happening in the opening arguments. Now we're going to go to Court TV. I've got it pulled up to where Brian is walking into the courtroom, which is after sitting and looking at some of the witnesses and no sound and everything in the courtroom. So we're going to pull it. Now, before I start, I must put on some music. I found out what was wrong with my why I was getting copyright strikes on using my music. I use Artlist to do my music, but when I changed my name from Get Lockered over to Crime Search Nan, it didn't change the name on my Artlist. So Butch fixed all that. So now the videos that were being demonetized are now, I'm getting messages that the demonetization is being removed. So that's good news. So before we get started, please leave a comment down below. Tell me what state you're watching from. I want to know how far out my videos go. And because I did have a subscriber from Australia. And I'd like to know if my videos are still going to Australia or where they're going in the country or world, because I'd like to be able to give you a shout out to what state or country or wherever you're from. I thank you for being here. All right, let's go. Was the disappearance of Anna Walshe Redrum trial, Massachusetts versus Brian Walshe. Where did it go? Whoops. It went back to the beginning for some reason.
Your Honor, in the matter of the Commonwealth versus Brian Walshe, Norfolk Superior Court Criminal Indictment Number 2023-0091. The matter is called for trial. Defendants present in court with his attorney Larry Tipton and Kelly Porges. Commonwealth is represented by ADA Greg Connor, Ann Yaz, and Tracy Cusick. Counsel, starting with the Commonwealth, kindly identify yourselves for the court and the record.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Good morning, Your Honor. Greg Connor for the Commonwealth.
Morning. Good morning, Your Honor. Ann Yaz for the Commonwealth.
Morning, Your Honor. Tracy Cusick for the Commonwealth.
Good morning, Your Honor. Kelly Porges on behalf of Mr. Brian Walshe.
Morning, Your Honor. Larry Tipton for Mr. Walshe.
Welcome, everyone. Please be seated.
Okay, now this is new for me. I have never in my life seen where they had the defendant sitting behind the prosecution like this. Because Brian Walshe and his attorneys can see everything that comes up on their screens. So they can be plotting a rebuttal to whatever is going on in front of them. Hey, that's a new thought. Maybe it's just because of the size of the courtroom. I don't know. But I like this attorney.
A few
Or the
things that I
judge,
had on
I'm
my radar for this morning, and then a few things that you put on my radar last night. Wrapping up our statistics with regard to our panelists, I just want to put on the record on
Number one, she's beautiful. Okay? She looks professional. She could do without the hair in the face, but that's just personal preference for me. I don't like people's hair in their face. You've got a beautiful face, let it shine. But in a minute, you'll see while she's talking and describing to the what's going on, she's just going to stand up. She doesn't just sit there and hide behind her computer. She will stand up. She will interact. I like her.
last day of jury impanelment. We saw 45 jurors. 30 of those answered yes to question 5. 2 were seated. 1 person answered yes to question 8. 0 people were seated. And I think if my math is accurate, and I'm sure one of you will correct me if I'm not, at the end of the impanelment, the Commonwealth exercised 4 peremptories, the defense exercised 8 peremptories. There are a few motions that have been circulating in the last few hours, and I want to first address with the parties it doesn't have a paper number, but has a...
Hold up. I just got a message come up on my computer. I'm letting it pull up. I can go back to the case. This just in, breaking news. Where's it at? Come up. Oh. It'll pop up in a minute. There it is. Okay. French civil service French civil servant drugged 200 women to make them weed during job interviews. A French civil servant accused of drugging more than 240 female job applicants has been named for the first time. Christian Negre allegedly gave women a drink laced with a diuretic during interviews while working as an HR manager at the French Culture Ministry, knowing it would make them need to use the restroom, according to The Guardian. The interviews were often conducted outside on long walks far from toilets, with many of the women feeling ill and forced to void in public, sometimes wetting themselves. A court hearing previously reported in French media heard he kept a log on his computer of what he called pee experiments. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? This says boy 8 passes away after breaking his arm at school. My gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay, anyway, I just wanted to pull that up there because that just popped up in my news feed where I get my daily what I'm going to talk about tomorrow stuff. That's not what we're going to talk about tomorrow.
Title of defendant's motion in limine to exclude the evidence of the hole in the ceiling at the Walshe residence and the remainder of that, to which the Commonwealth opposed. Do either party wish to be heard on that in oral argument?
No, Your Honor.
Your Honor, with respect to the ceiling addressed on the papers, however, with the Richard Walker email, through an investigation, nothing ties this email route to Mr. Walshe. We've indicated that we have no intention on crossing on this, on making this an issue in the case, so it really is just a red herring that could be potentially inflammatory. It has no relevance. As the court knows, he pled to misleading, and this is not consciousness of guilt. This doesn't go to malice because nothing is tied to him. So I don't think it should be submitted to the jury.
Thank you.
Your Honor, the email was being put in to show the thoroughness of the investigation. The police received it as one of the many tips, and they actually asked the defendant about the name in one of the interviews. And so that is why the Commonwealth was seeking to enter the email, so it would show why the police were asking about this particular name.
Defense's motion is denied. The evidence will be admitted. It is relevant to the issues, even with regard to the issue of Richard Walker. The Commonwealth gets to prove its case and prove that it was thorough, and its case, I'll permit it in my discretion. There's another motion that you raised by email to Madam Clerk yesterday or last night. With regard to the emails
That was on screen.
of Mr. Fasto. And I asked this morning, Madam Clerk, to ask you, what paper are you talking about? Because I know it was a long break, but I don't remember reviewing Mr. Fasto's emails since the time I reviewed them in connection with the grand jury. And that was in connection with the summer motions that we had. I got back and, oh, it's paper number 200. It's not paper number 200. Paper number 200 has to do with defendant's own text messages. So as a preliminary matter, we can handle it down the line unless somebody feels that they are going to have a problem with that in terms of your opening statements. You know what I mean? All right. So is there a problem with that, not resolving that for the Commonwealth?
I was going to reference a image that was sent to Mr. Fastow in my opening.
Is that the photo of Anna Walsh and her son?
Yes. And the basis for that, Your Honor, is that Mr. Mutlu acknowledges in an interview that it was sent to Mr. Fastow that evening. And so that was where the good faith basis was to mention it. So I was intending to mention it. Also, the defendant acknowledged a text of that photo in one of the interviews.
All right. Is there a problem with that aspect of it?
So, Mr. Mutlu saying that someone told him that this photo was sent is hearsay.
No, Mr.
However-
Mutlu sent the photo to Mr.
No, what they're saying is that Anna Walsh sent the photo to Mr. Fastow in this series of text exchanges. So it's contained in the text messages that we're objecting to.
All right. What paper number is it?
Your Honor, this was the government's motion in limb to admit text messages.
That's
So
of the defendant. That's a different issue entirely.
I don't know, Your Honor. They had moved to admit text messages. I don't know the paper number. It's just the.
It's the defendant's text messages that they moved to admit.
No, there were text messages. There's also, maybe it's the nature of the relationship. Is it that one you're thinking of, Ms. Hughes?
Boy, that attorney's argumentative.
Somebody give me a paper number so I can get on the same page with you.
Your Honor, it's paper 200 is the Commonwealth's motion to admit text messages. The last paragraph deals with Mr. Fastow and the victim's text messages.
To which I wrote in my effort to be ever transparent. This is going back to motion in limine number 13, paper number 197. That's not the one.
Your Honor, I believe I have it as paper number 199, which is Commonwealth's motion to eliminate 13.
Here's what I'm going to suggest. The Commonwealth, I assume, intends to offer, or this testimony would be offered through Mr. Fastow. When is he testifying?
This week, Your Honor, I think maybe Thursday.
All right, then we deal with it later on down the line. And
Is that
all
my open?
right,
Yes, Your Honor.
now, the other motion that was filed, same question. And that has to do with the Commonwealth's motion to eliminate to exclude the defendant from making any reference of his plea of guilty to the disinterment and to the lying to the police. Is that impacted by anyone's, is that going to, not ruling on that, is that going to impact anyone's opening?
It will not affect the Commonwealth's opening. We're looking to avoid it.
It will not.
It will not?
It will not for opening, no.
All right, so I just want to be as transparent and as clear as I can be on the record. So I have not ruled on that, which means failing to rule it at this point, which I'm happy to rule on it. I don't think the law is going to get any clearer because there is no law on this. But that means that's going to put limitations on the defense in terms of what you can open on, right?
Yes, Your Honor, I understand.
All right, I just want to make sure that we're all speaking the same language.
Judge, just so there's no surprise, there is a statement in my opening that said he lied to police. That doesn't trigger this issue.
He can say that. He can.
Yes, Your Honor, I apologize.
Well, to the extent that you need to hear it out of my mouth, he can say that. He can say, I misled the police. He can say, I lied to the police.
Wow. Okay, so do you think I should go and try to do some background work, or do you want to just keep going from here and go through the trial as the trial happens? Please let me know in the comments.
All right. Are there any more preliminary matters? We have 16 jurors in the House. My intention with regard to them is to inquire of them first thing now, after I greet them, and ensure myself by asking them 3 questions that I go through. It's actually 4 in this case because I added the social media, no news media. I'll presume for the sake of argument right now that all of them are going to have been obedient to that. If they aren't, of course, we'll deal with it and we'll address it. And we'll go from there. If we get, we still have 16 in the box, we'll swear them in. And then we'll be off and running. Any questions about that?
No.
Come up.
Your Honor, no question about that. There are some housekeeping matters. Counsel wished to have 4 witnesses recognized. I have them here. And in addition, we had a series of stipulations that we wanted to present to the court.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you. And forgive me because I was focusing on the Richard Walker email. I didn't hear your judgment on the hole in the ceiling.
On the what?
The hole in the ceiling.
That the entirety of that motion is denied.
Okay. So with that, I could have the officers that counsel wishes to recognize be brought in, and we could have them recognized right now.
Yeah.
I'd like to bring up one issue.
Before this?
Doesn't matter, just, I'll wait till they're recognized and I'll bring it up.
All right, good morning, everyone. Just identify yourself for the record. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. So you're all in here because the defense wants you to be recognized, which means that you're under court order. You need to make yourself available for this trial whenever you're told, and the lawyers will be back in contact with you when you are actually needed as the case goes along. Do you understand? Yes, sir. And you agree to come back? Yes, sir. All right. Thank you very much.
I've never seen that happen before.
Your Honor, I'm handing up to the clerk 3 series of stipulations. One is concerning the Richard Walker email. Now that it's going to be admissible, we believe that stipulation could be read to the jury. There is also a stipulation concerning the chain of custody of the known DNA samples, which would negate the need to call certain witnesses from the FBI. And then finally, there's stipulations. This third one does not need to be read to the jury, but it's just for the record and could be marked as for ID concerning financial records. And so we were going to have that. And then also, I believe we have a stipulation concerning the federal conviction and federal charges.
All right. So I'll have these all marked for identification at this point. I don't usually send stipulations to the jury. I just consider it like any other evidence, and by sending it in as a special something, it seems to me to improperly highlight that evidence. They've got to remember what the stipulations are. That said, if they ask me back what the stipulations were, I typically answer that question. Yes, but I don't send them in. So I'll have them marked individually for identification. Where are we right now with regard to that? All right, D for dog is the stipulation regarding Richard Walker. E will be the stipulation regarding the DNA samples of Anna Walsh and Brian Walsh. F will be the stipulation regarding authentication of records. And G will be the stipulation regarding the federal prosecution of the defendant. And when we get to the point in the case that you wish me to read those stipulations, just cue me by ID number that this is the time you want them to be read.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right?
That's it for the Commonwealth for housekeeping.
All right. Attorney Tipton.
First, the preliminary instructions, we're asking.
I don't
that
smoke.
No consciousness of guilt preliminary instructions.
Yes,
be
sir.
given.
I don't have one in there. All I have is the elements of first degree murder by premeditation and the normal beyond a reasonable doubt and presumption of innocence, all that stuff.
Okay.
But there's nothing about COG in there.
Okay. And secondly, our understanding was that the sentencing was going to occur today. Are we wrong about that?
I don't know that we set the day to take place, but I also don't think it's going to have bearing on the ruling on that other motion if you're concerned about that.
I guess the next question is, does the court know when sentencing would be scheduled?
Well, we could talk about it. Nobody was pressing the issue, but now maybe that's changed. I think when we took the plea last Tuesday, or maybe it was the Tuesday before, right? We had talked about giving the Commonwealth sufficient time to get a victim impact statement in. I haven't seen that. At some point, it sort of felt to me like maybe we just do it all together. If there's a conviction at the end, if not, I'll just sentence him on the other two charges. But I don't have any, firm beliefs about whether it needs to be done before or after. So if either party wants me to do it sooner rather than later, put the other side on notice that the victim impact statements need to be to me by a certain date so that I consider them. And if there's anything beyond in writing that the defense wants me to consider, I'm happy to consider that too. So
We'll talk to the Commonwealth.
all right, sounds good.
Boy, they seem to don't have their stuff together right now, do they? That was a rude sound.
Indictment. Singular.
I want to advance it, but if I do, I'm afraid I'll go too far and we'll miss something.
So jurors, as I told you in the impanelment period, you will be responsible for deciding this case. Please pay careful attention to the evidence that you'll see and hear during this trial. When the evidence is complete, I will explain the legal rules that you must apply to decide this case. We will then meet in private to discuss and consider the evidence, apply those rules, and work together to reach a unanimous verdict. Before we start the trial itself, I'm giving you some initial instructions, also known as the pre-charge. I will explain the indictment that Madam Clerk just read aloud and describe what will happen during the trial. I will explain my role as the judge, the lawyer's important role, and your role as jurors. I will discuss some of the legal rules that apply to this case, and I will explain and remind you of some important things you must do and must not do during this trial. A moment ago, Madam Clerk read the language of the indictment in this case. An indictment is a legal document that formally accuses someone of a crime. The indictment in this case charges Mr. Walsh with committing murder. The indictment is not evidence in this case, and the fact that the defendant is facing this charge does not mean that he is guilty of committing any crime. As I told you when we were choosing you as jurors, the defendant has pleaded not guilty to the charge. And at the end of the trial, you, the jury, will decide whether the prosecution has proved the charge beyond a reasonable doubt. Let me give you an outline of the trial. When I finish these initial instructions, The prosecutor and the defense will make their opening statements. An opening statement is a summary of what the lawyer expects the evidence will show. After the opening statements, you will hear testimony from various witnesses. The evidence may also include documents and other things. The prosecution will call witnesses first. Then, the defendant will have the chance to call additional witnesses if he chooses to do so. Both sides may question each witness. After you see and hear all of the evidence, each side will make their closing arguments to summarize the evidence and suggest conclusions you may reach based on the evidence and the law. The lawyer's opening statements and their closing arguments may help you make sense of the evidence you see and hear during this trial, but the openings and the closings are not evidence. At the end of the trial, I will instruct you in detail on the legal rules that you must apply in deciding this case. And I give them to you both orally, as I'm doing now, but you get written copies of the charge that go back with you as well. We will then discuss the case in private and work together as a jury to agree on a verdict. Let me next address the roles of everybody in this courtroom, and I'll start with myself first. As a judge, I am responsible to make sure this case is tried fairly, efficiently, and according.
See, she has stood up and she is addressing the correct persons that she needs to. I like that. She's not just sitting there reading off of a piece of paper where you can't, she's interacting with the people she's working with. And I like that.
To the law. I must make sure that you see and hear only evidence that's allowed under what we call our rules of evidence. Those rules determine what evidence the lawyers may and may not present to you. The purpose of these rules is to make sure that what you see and hear during this trial is relevant to the case and appropriate for you to consider. If one of the lawyers says objection, that means that that lawyer thinks a particular answer or an exhibit that's being offered violates those rules of evidence. If I'm not persuaded by the objection, I will say overruled. That means that the witness may answer the question or the other party may show you the exhibit, and you may consider the answer or the exhibit as evidence. If I instead say sustained, that means that the witness may not answer the question or that the proffering party may not show you the exhibit, because under our rules, you may not consider the answer or the exhibit. If I sustain an objection, you may not talk about or try to guess or speculate what the answer might have been. There are times when I may say to you, disregard something or allow a motion to strike, something that you've already heard or seen. That happens, that means that the testimony or exhibit that I strike, you must disregard it and you may not consider.
Your fur is getting on my nose.
As the judge in the case throughout the trial, there may be times when I give you mid-trial instructions on a particular area of law. And at the end of the trial, I will give you, as I said, those detailed oral and written instructions. Let me next talk about the role of the lawyers. The lawyers in this case have their own important role. Their job is to bring to your attention the evidence and arguments that best support their position. They may also object to evidence, as I just mentioned, offered by the other side. Please don't hold it against any of the lawyers if they make an objection. The lawyers have to let me know when they think there's a potential evidentiary issue that I need to decide.
Okay, so for the rest of this part right here, she's going to be telling the jury what's expected. Get down, baby. Thank you. What's expected of them and what they can expect from her and from the attorneys and the beginning of every court trial. And somebody's going to speak here, so let's see what we can find out from. Is he Catholic? He's holding his rosary.
Jurors, I know that you will try this case according to the oath that you took this morning. In that
You
oath, you
now-
promised you would well and truly try the issues between the Commonwealth and the defendant according to the evidence and the law. If you follow that oath, approach this case with an open mind and make your decisions fairly, without prejudice or bias or sympathy for anyone, then you will arrive at a just and fair verdict. It's now time for the opening statements. You will find that there are customs in the law, many customs in the law that dictate how the case plays out. And the first custom I'll alert you to is that the Commonwealth opens the case first. ADA Connor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, may it please the court?
It does.
On January 4th, 2023, Teresa Marchese returned to work.
Can you hear?
She works at Tishman Speyer, and she is the Director of Human Capital Management. That is to say that she's the Director of Human Resources. And Tishman Speyer is a real estate management company, but it's a global real estate management. It has buildings all over the world. And this office that Ms. Marchese works in is in Washington, D.C. When she returned to her office in Washington, D.C. that morning, she was alerted that one of her coworkers' husbands was trying to find her coworker. The coworker was Anna Walsh, and her husband is Brian Walsh. Teresa Marchese knew Anna Walsh because she hired her. She hired her in February 2022 to work at the Washington, D.C. office of Tishman Speyer and to manage some of those buildings in Washington, D.C. She also knew that Anna Walsh commuted from Cohasset to Washington to work at Tishman Speyer, and that her husband, Brian, and her 3 children were still in Cohasset at this time. She also knew where Anna Walsh lived in Washington, D.C. Anna Walsh had bought a townhouse right near where Teresa Marchese lives in Washington. So when she heard that Brian Walsh was looking for Anna, she got concerned. And she spoke to her boss, Jeff Chubb. And the two of them went into a conference room and called Brian Walsh. Brian was calm, and he said that on January 1st, Anna left their Cohasset home for a work emergency and had to fly back to Washington, D.C. And he hasn't spoken to her since then. This is the longest they've ever gone without speaking. So, Teresa Marchese went and drove to Anna Walsh's townhouse. She took another employee with her, and on the way there, she had another conversation with Brian Walsh. Brian was calm, and he gave her the combination to the garage so Ms. Marchese could get into the building. Ms. Marchese got there. She was able to look in the windows. Nothing was broken. Nothing was out of order. She got into the garage, and she found some cardboard boxes that had yet to be unpacked, some car seats, no car, no Anna Walsh. Now the door from the garage to the home, that was locked, so she couldn't get inside. So Ms. Marchese called Mr. Walsh back again, and she told him that she was going to loop into this conversation Tishman Speyer's global head of security, who also works in Washington, D.C. His name is Hugh Dunleavy. He's a retired Secret Service agent. Mr. Walsh is calm. Mr. Dunleavy is looped into this conversation on the phone, and Mr. Walsh's demeanor changes. He becomes very upset. Mr. Dunleavy calms him down, asks him a series of questions, and Mr. Walsh repeats. Anna left the home in Cohasset on January 1st to come to Washington, D.C. for a work emergency. Mr. Dunleavy follows up. Have you called the police? What is the local police department in your town? You live in Cohasset. You need to call the police. The call ends. Mr. Dunleavy works with the Washington police and helps facilitate them getting into the home in Washington, D.C., and Anna is not there. He also calls the Cohasset police just before noon on January 4th. And he reports Anna missing. Hugh Dunleavy from Washington, D.C. calls the Cohasset police, and that is the first time Anna Walshe has been reported missing to the police. And it was done just before noon on January 4th. And
So he's on the phone back and forth with Anna's co-worker, and he's telling, why didn't he go to his house and let them in? Or was it the townhouse in Washington, D.C.? I'm confused as to where she was supposed to be. He said she left Cohasset, wherever that is, on first to go to an emergency meeting in Washington, D.C. So she shouldn't have been at the home in Cohasset, whatever, so he could give them the code to get in the garage when they couldn't get into the house and all this stuff. So why would she be there if he said she left? Why wouldn't they be checking the home in Washington, D.C. at her townhouse? I'm confused here. Maybe it'll play out.
no one has seen her since January 1st. Over the next few weeks, it'll be the honor of Ms. Cusick, Ms. Yaz, and myself to represent the Commonwealth. And in that time, we will prove the defendant guilty beyond a reasonable doubt of the premeditated murder of his wife, Anna Walshe. And we're going to do that by presenting evidence. And evidence will come to you, as Her Honor pointed out, in two different forms. One is kind of tangent. You'll see photos of the family home in Cohasset at 516 Chief Justice Cushing Highway. You'll see videos from different stores. You'll see Anna Walsh's banking records. You will also see objects, like a Tyvek suit, like a hatchet, like a hacksaw. Now, in addition to those objects, you will hear from witnesses. Witnesses like Teresa Marchese and Hugh Dunleavy, who I just mentioned. You'll also hear from a group of witnesses that are Anna Walsh's friends and colleagues. They will tell you that Anna was 39 years old in January 2003. She was married to the defendant. She had 3 children. They'll tell you that she was a Serbian immigrant, that she came to this country and began working in the hospitality industry by working in hotels in Washington and Massachusetts, and that she transitioned to real estate. She got the opportunity to work for Jem Mutlu, who had his own real estate company. She actually wound up running that company for him. That was until February 2022, where she got what Brian Walsh would refer to as a dream job, where she got to work for Kitchen Spire. And she would make more money than she had ever made before in her career. She had purchased a townhouse in Washington, D.C., and she was expecting to have her family come with. However, Brian and the children had stayed in Massachusetts. And the reason is that Brian had previously pled guilty to a count of fraud in the Boston Federal District Courthouse, but he hadn't been sentenced yet. Now, he was accused of owing over $400,000 of restitution. At this point in time, Anna was the breadwinner for the family, and she had moved to D.C. She was still commuting back and forth, but looking to have the family join her in D.C., and Brian too. However, when she bought the townhouse, She did this with the aid of a person, by a real estate agent by the name of William Fastow. She was introduced to Mr. Fastow from her former boss, Jim Luther. Mr. Fastow will testify. And he will tell you that they became friends, and that friendship became romantic. And that carried on into November of 2022, when Anna needed to go visit her mother, who was sick back in Belgrade, Serbia. Anna flew to Dublin, Ireland, the weekend of Thanksgiving, and Mr. Fastow joined her for that weekend. She then flew and visited her sick mother in Serbia, and then would return back to the United States. Mr. Fastow, after Dublin, would go back to Washington, D.C. But Anna missed Thanksgiving with Brian and the children. And then on Christmas Eve that same year, Anna went out to dinner with Mr. Fastow. They went out to dinner in Annapolis with another couple. And she stayed the night. And she was supposed to get a flight out on Christmas Day. But she couldn't get a flight. So she had to drive up from Washington, D.C. to Cohasset. And she missed Christmas Eve and most of Christmas Day with Brian. She would fly back to Washington.
So she's cheating on her husband. And using other situations like her mom getting sick as a reason to spend time with the person she's cheating with, who would be, I'm presuming, her boss. Does Brian know about all this? Does he know about this other man? I'm wondering.
Washington, D.C. And on December 29th, she would go to dinner with one of her friends, who will testify before you. And that friend will say that she was uncharacteristically tired and emotional. You'll also hear from a series of witnesses that dealt with Anna Walshe right before New Year's. She returned back to Cohasset on December 30th, and she was going to stay with the family until January 3rd. You'll hear how she went to a bar class, B-A-R-R-E. It's an intensive ballet class. You'll hear from the instructor, who will say that she did exceedingly well in it. A person who was with her in a nail salon testified. She got her nails done on New Year's Eve. And Mr. Mutlu will testify. He went over to the Walshe family residence on New Year's Eve for dinner. 3 adults were there. It was Mr. Mutlu, Brian, and Anna. He got there around 8:30. He brought some snacks for the kids. Actually got to play with the oldest child. And he spent the night talking to his friends. He'd characterize them as jovial. They shared champagne. They weren't drunk. They were enjoying the new year. They actually signed the champagne bottles. And you'll see that, where they were looking forward to the new year. Brian cooked. Brian was attentive. Brian also said to Mr. Mutlu that night that he had lost his phone, it had been misplaced, but he had felt free as a result of it. Mr. Mutlu left that home on New Year's Day at 1:30 a.m. And there was no mention of a work emergency in Washington, D.C. that would require Anna to fly out or leave the family home at 6 or 7 a.m. that day. Now on January 4th, after Hugh Dunleavy had called the Cohasset Police Department, the Cohasset Police Department dispatched Officer Greg Lawrence to go speak to Mr. Walshe at his home. Officer Lawrence went. He was met outside by Brian Walshe. Brian Walshe informed Officer Lawrence that Anna had left on January 1st, had taken a Uber or Lyft to Logan Airport to fly out to Washington, D.C. for a work emergency. Gave her a phone number for Anna.
Then why wasn't her car in the garage? I just caught up on that. They said her car wasn't in the garage when they went looking for her. Why, if she took an Uber?
Walshe described her as 5'2", that she was 39 years old, approximately 115 pounds, He hadn't heard it. Officer Lawrence went back to the Cohasset Police Department, worked with other Cohasset police officers, trying to find any connection to Uber or Lyft or local taxi cabs. Cohasset Police would then begin a process of pinging Anna's phone. You're going to get to see the records from that, but essentially the process involves the cell phone carrier, in this case Verizon, sending a signal out to the phone to try and locate it. And the Verizon records will show that the last time that phone that belonged to Anna Walsh interacted with the network was shortly after 3 a.m. on January 2nd. And when it did so, it was in the area of the Walsh home. That same day, Cohasset Police also tasked Detective Schmidt with investigating this case. He and Officer Lawrence would go back to the Walsh family residence at 516 Chief Justice Cushing Highway and interview Brian Walsh. And he recorded it. You'll get to hear the recording. And Brian will talk about how Anna was commuting back and forth from Cohasset to Washington for work, how there were some issues with his federal case, and how Mr. Mutlu had come over for dinner that night on New Year's Eve, and how Anna had to leave between 6 and 7 on January 1st. He also, in that interview, described what Anna was wearing when she left the house. Blue-gray hunter boots, a black jacket, and an Hermes watch. So Sergeant Smith will testify before you, and he will tell you that he worked on this missing person investigation and called in additional resources to help. On the 5th, he had his own department do a search of the woods near the family home. On the 6th, he called in a task force made of several different police departments to do further searching of the woods in and around the Walsh family home. Contacted the state police to use their resources. He also got the opportunity to speak to Mr. Walsh on January 5th, January 7th, and January 8th. And when he did those interviews, he was accompanied by detectives from the state police. And those interviews were recorded. And you'll get to hear those interviews. And Mr. Walsh, during those interviews, will explain that he and Anna were happily married. He had no knowledge of any extramarital affair. That Anna had her dream job. That it was taking care of the family. And conversely, he didn't take a salary this year out of his company that was a consulting company. He told the police that he owed over $400,000 in restitution on his federal matter. That this case was causing stress on his marriage. That he might have to go to jail. He said that they were very happy and that the biggest problem was that they were apart. Brian also told the police that Anna's job had caused her to miss Christmas Eve and Christmas Day with the family. And that Anna traveling to visit her sick mom caused her to miss Thanksgiving with the family. And that he did not want to have argument with Anna about missing another holiday on January 1st. He had a discussion with her about Christmas Day. He was concerned that by him looking around trying to find her, she embarrassed her. So he tells the police, I didn't want to have an argument. So I understood she was going to come back, and she left for that emergency at work. You'll also have access to financial records that will show that Anna Walsh had approximately $200,000 in accounts at Fidelity, and that there was over $1 million in life insurance in Anna Walsh, and that Brian Walsh was the beneficiary of those policies. In addition to the Cohasset police, the Massachusetts State Police also worked with them.
So now they're going to try to say, it sounds to me like they're going to try to say that he unalived her so that he could come up with the money from the life insurance policies to pay the $400,000 in restitution he owes so that he doesn't have to go back to jail. That's what it sounds like. Now, I don't know.
I'm trying to find out. You're going to hear from two troopers in particular, Trooper Nicholas Torino and Trooper Connor Key. They are digital forensic specialists. They have special training in examining computers, tablets, phones. And in this matter, they had the opportunity to examine a MacBook, iPads, and cell phones that were at the Walshe house. And they will explain that on Christmas Day, when Anna had missed Christmas Eve and was, after spending the evening with Mr. Fastow, and was driving up from Washington, D.C., the cell phone that Brian Walshe was using looked up Mr. Fastow on the internet. And that on December 27th, a MacBook that used the Apple ID for Brian Walshe, between 8:30 and 9 o'clock, researched best strategies to divorce for a man, best state to divorce for a man, Washington, D.C. divorce laws. On December 29th, Brian Walsh's cell phone was researching buildings that Anna Walshe managed for Tishman Speyer and emergencies she had handled for them in the past. Trooper Guarino will also explain to you the internet history of that MacBook that had Brian Walsh's Apple ID beginning on January 1st. At 4:54 a.m., the MacBook searched best way to dispose of a body. And then went to similar websites, more than that.
Okay. I don't know a whole lot about Apple products. I mean, I know that anything I do on my phone will go on my tablet and will go on my husband's Apple computer down in the basement. Because my phone account, my email address is attached to all three of those things. So anything that I look up on the internet here will go on all three products. And anything my husband looks up on his Apple will go on his tablet and on his computer down in the basement. So how can they tell which device looked up what? And also, if she's texting somebody, if he's got her tablet at his house or a computer at his house and it's Apple, and she's texting, all those text messages will show up on the devices that are in his house. So he can see any text communication between her and anybody else by opening up her other devices. So I don't know how they know which device looked up what scenario there.
Now, at 6:24 a.m., same day, the same device, searched how long for someone to missing.
Oh, Amanda Panda says you can stop it from going across all devices, and each device has its own IP. Oh, I thought the IP address was like our house. Our internet here at the house was our IP address for all three of the devices I use. And then wherever Butch's truck is the IP address for his tablet in his truck and his computer in his truck and his phone. I didn't know that. It was there. See? See, you are so smart. See? That's why I keep you around. Because you're smarter than I am. Each device has its own. Okay. Now I know.
To inherit. How long missing to be dead? Can you throw away body parts? Later on that morning, on January 1st at 9:33 a.m., the MacBook went to search, how long does DNA last? And then an article, is it possible to clean DNA off the knife? 30 minutes later, the MacBook researched disposal of a cell phone. At 10:28 a.m., the MacBook researched, I am the user of my wife's credit card. She is missing.
I don't think DNA ever goes away. Because you can clean blood up, or red liquid, I should say, with bleach. And you can go back. I've seen it done on the paranormal shows. You can go back 100 years later and you can spray luminol and that red liquid's still going to be there. The evidence of that red liquid will still be there, even though you can't see it with the naked eye, you can see it with luminol. So wouldn't the DNA still be in that porous object that has the red liquid, that had originally had the red liquid on it? So I don't think DNA goes away, because they can dig up parts in a graveyard and test those body parts for DNA still, ever how long, until it turns to ash, I guess. I don't know. But even if somebody is cremated, there's still fragments, bone fragments and stuff that doesn't totally, you don't get all fine mesh powder. So there's still bone fragments in there. You could sift them out if you were really wanting to do that.
And again, on January 1st, at 11:28 a.m., it searched best way to dispose of body parts after a murder. Trooper Guarino will explain the numerous websites and searches done by the MacBook in the morning and early afternoon on January 1st, and that these websites were about cleaning blood with ammonia, bleach, and hydrogen peroxide. Websites visited included those as whether it is better to throw away crime scene clothes or wash them. One site was entitled, "You want to get away with murder? Use a special deterrent." This type of activity on the MacBook continued into
It will continue to deteriorate forever. She said it deteriorates. I didn't know that. Oh, a sample will deteriorate. Okay. If I read all of it, I'd know what you're saying. Yeah. Okay. I got you.
to January 2nd, when it looked up, how long does Lowe's keep security footage? How to saw a body. How to dismember a body. Can you be charged with murder without a body? Can you identify a body with broken teeth? The MacBook also visited websites for apartment complexes in Brockton and Chelsea. One in particular, Chatham West in Brockton. Brian Walshe told investigators that his phone, which was an iPhone 13 mini, had been misplaced and not found until the afternoon of January 2nd, 2023. When investigators examined that phone, they learned that it had been connected to a power source. It had been unlocked 4 times by either using the face or the passcode. Investigators will also tell you that the location data from that phone show that it remained in the Walshe residence until the afternoon of January 2nd, 2023. However, there was another phone in the Walshe residence, an iPhone SE, which belonged to one of the children. When investigators examined the location data from that phone, they found that on January 1st, the phone traveled to a Walgreens in Cohasset, then to a liquor store nearby the defendant's mother's home, an apartment complex in Swampscott, to a CVS in Danvers, to a Lowe's in Danvers, and to a Stop and Shop in Swampscott. You will see the surveillance video from those stores. You will see the video from Walgreens, where a white man with dark hair using a credit card buys Band-Aids and antibiotic gum. You'll see on the surveillance video at the CVS in Danvers that a white man with dark hair, now wearing a mask, buys hydrogen peroxide using cash. You'll see the surveillance video from the Stop and Shop in Swampscott, where a white man then goes buys ammonia with cash. And you'll see the surveillance video from the Lowe's in Danvers, where a white man wearing a mask and dark hair buys several items that cost more than $400 using cash, including a Tyvek suit and cutting instruments such as shears, snips, and a hacksaw. Investigators will explain how the cell phone location data from the iPhone SE shows that it went to a Home Goods in the morning of January 2nd, and that Brian's iPhone 13 mini went to a Home Depot in Rockland in the afternoon of January 2nd. You will see the surveillance videos from those stores. You'll see a white man with dark hair at Home Goods buying scented candles and area rugs. And you'll see a white man with dark hair at the Home Depot buying more cleaning supplies, 20 pounds of baking soda, mop, buckets, and a hatchet. The investigators will also explain to you that Brian Walsh's cell phone on January 3rd was located near apartment complexes in Brockton. You will see the surveillance videos from some of the apartment complexes, including one of Chatham West. You will see someone going to the dumpster and then leave. The investigators will also tell you that on January 5th, Brian Walsh's cell phone was in the area of dumpsters and a trash compactor by his mother's apartment complex in Swampscott, and that this was before he was interviewed by Detective Schmidt later that night. On January 9th, the police went to those dumpsters, and they took that trash compactor and that dumpster to a facility in Peabody, where they searched the contents of both. And they found an Hermes watch, blue-gray Hunter boots, a black coat, a COVID vaccination card with Anna Walsh's name, rugs, a Tyvek suit, a hammer, shears, snips, a hatchet, and a hacksaw. The police will tell you that these items were packaged and brought back to a laboratory, and they were brought there for examination. And how some of these items were examined for DNA. And the DNA was compared to samples they had from Anna and Ron. And scientists from the state DNA lab will identify DNA of Brian Walshe and Anna Walshe on the Tyvek suit. They will explain that Anna Walsh's DNA was found from items in the dumpster, including rugs, the hatchet, and the hacksaw. Jem Mutlu said goodbye to Anna Walshe about 1:30 a.m. on New Year's Day. When he left, she was home, she was alive, she was with her husband. No one has seen her since her husband said she left on January 1st. She has not accessed her finances, her email, her phone has made no calls, and no one has found her.
She says it will continue to deteriorate forever. I didn't know that. I started to take a forensics course, but then I changed my mind.
During this case, we ask two things. The first is that you keep an open mind. Do not rush to judgment, but instead, see how all the evidence fits together. Pay careful attention to the timing of certain events. And second, use your common sense. Don't leave it home. Bring it with you here as you make your examination of every piece of evidence. And at the end of this trial, we will speak to you one more time. And it is at that time we will ask that you find the defendant guilty of murdering his wife with deliberate premeditation. Thank you.
Thank you, 88 Connor. Jurors, why don't you take a break and stand up, shake a leg.
Okay. We are an hour and a half into this, and we haven't even, well, it's an hour and 45 minutes into the video, and the video seems to be currently still happening. The trial is still on currently, according to my computer. It's still playing. They're on break right now. So I guess they just went to break for until tomorrow. But I'm not going to sit here through, because when I set this up, it was at like 9 o'clock this morning, and I'm not going to sit here all night. So we'll break this up into days, and then, because tomorrow I think it'll be opening statements from the defendant. So we'll see what goes on from there, and instead of me keeping you here all night, because it's snowing and I want to move some stuff in my upper garage so I can get CJ's home to help me. So we'll move that while I've got meatloaf in the oven, and then I'll try to get my truck in the garage. If not, I'll have to move my truck to the lower driveway because it's more flat, and I don't want my truck getting stuck because it's snowing, and I got a doctor's appointment at 9 o'clock tomorrow to see if I can be medically released over my shoulder. So, okay. Do something nice for someone, even if it's be the reason they smile, and search for a crime. I'll see you tomorrow. Do you want me to come in earlier tomorrow? They said between 1 and 8 inches. So I don't know. And then it's supposed to move on down your way. But they're saying it's coming from Des Moines and up in the Great Lakes and coming down this way. And last night at 7 o'clock from Des Moines north and east, they were saying don't travel up all the way up to New York and in that area from Des Moines all the way up through to Maine. Up in the upper regions by the Canadian border and the Great Lakes and that, because you're getting ice right now. We didn't get ice first. We got snow first. And when I was coming back from the doctor's office this morning at 8 o'clock, because I had therapy at 7:30, when I was coming through Andover at 8 o'clock, I could see the snow already blowing across the road. And then I had to go to the storage unit to look for an item and then come home. And then Butch was like, don't go to the grocery store after I was on my way to the grocery store. And I'm like, okay. So then later I had to go to the bank and then go down and put money on CJ's school lunch account because I forgot to send a check with him this morning and he needed lunch money. So, and the snow, it hadn't accumulated at that time. Now we've got on my RV garage, which doesn't have any heat in it, has a light dusting on it, and it's still coming down. So there's a light dusting in the yard right now. And I noticed there was some snow on the bed of my truck a little while ago. So I've got to get rock salt on the driveway before it gets bad. So anyway, do something nice for someone, even if it's just be the reason they smile. Be safe if you must get out. If you don't have to get out, please don't get out. And search for crime. I'll see you tomorrow.